would like to go ahead and get our May council meeting to order. Today is May 22nd, and it is 7:03 p.m. If I can please have a moment of silent meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Manager, may I please have roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Cabillas?
Here.
Vice Mayor Nickerson?
Here.
Councilmember Mathis? Here. Councilmember Dreyer? Here. Councilperson Roman?
Here.
We have a quorum. Madam Mayor, we do have a quorum.
Okay, great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Also present, Village Manager, me, Christia Alou, and Norman Powell, Interim Village Attorney, and Interim Chief Ronnie Huffnagel.
Okay, excellent, thank you. The agenda, I have a couple things I need to add and maybe even move around. I need to add under F1 is the swearing in of Officer Victor Riveron. I need to add H2, El Jardín update. And if by the time we get there, the only thing I would need, I'd request the council is after the swearing in, the first resolution, which is a TPO smart plan, will go before Comcast or El Jardín. If they are not here, I will follow the order of the agenda, which is Comcast, El Jardín, and then I'll follow the resolutions. May I get a motion to approve the agenda with those additions?
Motion.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Roman. May I get a second?
Second that.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Hearing, any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the agenda passes. At this time, I need approval of the minutes from the April 23rd council meeting. Do I have, the council have the opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
I did not, Madam Mayor.
You did not?
No, but
Okay, let's go ahead and leave them until Councilperson Mathis gets in to see if we have, if they could pass. If not, they'll get moved to the June agenda. Okay, great. At this time, one of our favorite things to do is we're going to be swearing in a new officer. Actually, I'd like Chief Huffnagel to come up and tell us a little bit about Officer Riveron, and then we will go ahead with the swearing in. And then after the swearing in, we'll get some pictures, so don't run out the door so fast.
Good evening. I'm a little short here. Officer Riveron is a part-time officer with us. He started with us as part-time, and then we were fortunate enough that he is going to took the full-time position. He started on May 5th as full-time. So he's on FTO right now, training, and once he completes his training, then he will be going at midnights. So
To be clear, he's replacing who?
he is replacing Officer
Blackwood.
Blackwood, sorry.
Okay.
Yes, Blackwood. I'm trying to think. Okay.
Okay, great. Mhm.
I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, that's okay. So if you can join us up here, Officer Victor Riveron. Is that a speaker?
Raise your right hand and please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect,
that I will support, protect,
and defend the Constitution
and defend the Constitution
and the government of the United States
and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold
that I am duly qualified to hold
office under the Constitution of state,
office under the Constitution of state,
and that I will
and that I will
well
well
and faithfully
and
perform
faithfully perform
the duties of
the duties of
a full-time officer
full-time officer
on which I am now
on which I am now
about to enter.
to enter.
So help me
So
God.
help me God.
Congratulations. All right, we're going to get a quick picture. center of the seal? Congratulations again. Good job. All righty. Anyone from Comcast here? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go right into Commissioner Bobo's office, Edmondson's office. Are they still on the way?
Chairman Bobo is not able to attend this evening. I'm not sure of,
Do you know if Commissioner Edmondson's coming?
as far as I know, he is expected to come to treat
So you don't know yet? Okay, we're going to give her 5 more minutes. Okay, so we're going to have Craig Smith come up and give us an update on El Jardín. Oh, we have a presentation? Do you need us to get the lights? Chief, can one of the officers get the lights, please? Just the front lights. Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Can you all see? You guys good?
All right. Look, councilpersons, my name's Orlando Rubio from Craig A. Smith and Associates. And I have our Vice President of Engineering, Steve Smith. We're here to give you an update on our El Jardín Stormwater Improvement Project. Just to give us a background, the El Jardín Stormwater area, bounded by North Miami Avenue on the west, Northeast 2nd Avenue to the east, and Northeast 90th Street from the north, and Northeast 86th Street to the south. As you can see here, plans to date. Our project survey is complete. We've, El Portal's always been an area where you have a pretty good differential in elevations. What we found, on the north end of the system, the roads up on 90th Street, you got grades about 11.7 feet NGVD, down to 3.1 down by 86th Street. So we have about almost an 8.5-foot drop in elevation between north and south. So all this water is just trying to get south, and then what happens is, it can overwhelm the lower lying streets. Subsurface utility engineering is complete as well. That stands for locating all of your water mains, any gas, any street lighting, all the known utilities we were able to pick up, because we have to design around those things when we put storm pipe in the ground. We also picked up what we call on our plans unknown utilities, which really means undeclared utility found by our field investigation, which will require further follow-up with utility companies to see if they really are. Sometimes they don't know what they have. So we'll go back to Miami-Dade Water and Sewer, Tico Gas, the cable company, and maybe even the FPNL, see if that's their utility. But for the most part, I think we're done. We're just now designing around the conflicts. Next, Steve. One of the things we did observe on 86 and Northeast First Ave, that's your lowest spot in this whole area. That's why you also have existing catch basins there, because probably somebody thought about collecting water and getting it out to the river. But that's a spot where you're gonna have the most trouble in. You're probably having problems there now, based on what we analyzed. So Northeast 86th Street would benefit from an elevation change, and that can come in once you're ready to do the sanitary sewer in that road. So you'll address, the elevations and redesign that road to meet whatever target elevation you want to establish based on, climate change, sea level rise elevations. All right, next one. Permitting is pending. We'll probably be submitting to all the agencies within the next 2 weeks. Been working with the village manager on getting these applications signed. But we'll need the South Florida Army Corps FDP Environmental Resource Permit, which is a joint application. We'll submit that online. Since we're tying into the C7, the Little River, we'll need a right-of-way permit from South Florida, I believe, and then we're also going to need a Miami-Dade County Class 2 permit, which will cover the stormwater approval. They're pretty much, dual reviews. Our plans to date are, I would say, about 75% complete. We anticipate to be 100% by the end of June, with minor revisions, pending from agency comments, whatnot. And we've had a request to locate the outfall easement, to relocate the easement where we're putting our stormwater outfall. Originally, we had it on the west side of that vacant lot. We'd like to see if we can move that to the east. I don't know if you had that communications with them yet, or if he's okay with it, or
If I may.
go for it, please.
May I? Yes, I I did reach out to the property owner, Mr. Darren Held. I haven't heard back yet in terms of the approval of yay or nay, but I
Okay.
will let you know the moment I do.
Great, yeah. So, that won't hold us in permanent, which is change the plans once if we get that approved. But it's what we found, on the west side. Apparently, he owns more than just his lot. There's another strip on the other lot that he owns, and you've got a concrete wall, and you got a wooden fence, and a couple of large trees that are in the way. So it might be cheaper and easier to leave those alone and put the pipe right next to where the sidewalk is, and hug it down the east side of his lot, and then discharge into the Little River. But again, it can be built. I'm just want to try to make it as easy as possible for the contractor. The improvements, as far as this is being funded by the state appropriation grant, the grant is going to cover the 100% engineering design of the entire El Jardín drainage basin. But the remaining grant dollars will be used to finance an initial construction phase. Go to the next slide. So on the limits of the initial construction phase will be on 86th Street, starting from Northeast 2nd Avenue, where the outfall is proposed, and going as far west on 86th Street, as far as the money will take us. So as you can see here, I blew up our drainage schematic. The clouded red is where I'm gonna put the bid in for. If the money comes in too high, then we can always scale back going from west to east. But we like to go from where the outfall is, where the north and south pipe is by 2nd Avenue, and work our way west. Next slide. In a previous council meeting, that I was asked to, who are going to be the affected property owners. I went online and used Miami-Dade County's GIS website, and we have about 35 properties. But the proposed drainage that we're gonna install, you know, we did it, to minimize the amount of disruption we're gonna have. And so we're gonna be putting them we're gonna put the drainage system in the green areas so as to not interfere with the future sanitary systems that are traditionally installed in the middle of the road. There will be driveways will be impacted. I did a count, I think we have about, what did I say, 16 driveways that we're gonna cross, that we'll have to restore. The majority of them are asphalt and concrete. You have one driveway in our survey file that shows to be stamped concrete, and then you have a couple of driveways that are paver driveways. You could put it in the bid to have the contractor restore whatever's there now. The stamped concrete, I just want to advise the council, and I guess, and to let the homeowner know that because of the color schemes that they use to stamp the concrete, it may be difficult to duplicate that unless they can locate the contractor who did their driveway, and they can get the colors to get it to match what it was. But that's what we found in our past projects with other clients. You know, stamped concrete's a little challenging. The pavers is labor intensive, but again, we can't say just go ahead and put that price in your bid to reinstall the pavers the way you found them, and be done. Or what you could consider on one of our other projects we did for the city of Miami Beach, they adopted a driveway restoration policy where they only restored, if it was asphalt, you're getting asphalt back. If you're concrete, you're getting concrete back. If you had stamped concrete, you're only getting concrete back, and leave it back to the homeowner to redo his driveway. If there were pavers, the city of Miami Beach didn't reinstall the pavers. They would require the contractor to neatly stack the pavers on the property and put the burden back on the homeowner to put back the pavers. But again, that's just an example. You don't have to follow that, but that's what that city of Miami Beach has done.
Have you been in contact with the 16 residents?
No, we don't. We normally don't do that. Usually the contractor puts flyers up on people's doors when they're going to be bidding, when they're going to be starting work, I should say. But we could. I have the list of the addresses, and I didn't want to post them up here on the.
It's really how the village wants to
Yeah.
handle this moving forward, and if you all want to have somebody actively, be out and letting them know what's going to be coming and whatnot, we work with that. But it's really.
I mean, you can show the bid being advertised. I mean, put a link on the village website. What's going to get built and the plans as well. They can see the plans, and they can see whether whose driveways are going to get crossed and whatnot. But yeah. Next slide. Okay. And that's it. That's where we're at. We're almost there. I'll just leave it open it up to questions if.
How far are you at, where are we at to go out to bid? Are we at 30, 60, 90?
Let's say 90.
Considering it's rain season, right, August, September?
Yeah, it never fails, but yeah. Yeah, we're within permitting. If permitting goes smoothly, and I think it should, within 90 days, we can prepare the construction documents and bid documents while we're getting our permits. And
Give me one second. Councilperson Mathis, can you turn the lights on? Now that you're right there, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think, but the timing of notification would be once we know it's gone out for bid and it's coming back. I mean, that's something that it'll, number one, go on the website, and then it'll be email blasted by the clerk as far as where those homes are going to be at.
yeah.
Thank you. I can't wait till, we've been waiting for about a year, so this is, I know it's a long time coming. Thank you, you guys have been great. Any
All right.
questions for Orlando? Or Steve?
Well, thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Councilperson Mathis is here. Okay, great. Next on the agenda, we have TPO. I also want to recognize for the record, County Commissioner Edmonton is here, former mayor of El Portal. Oh, jeez. So, okay. So at this time, we have a resolution, but before we go into the resolution, who's will be speaking about the TPO? You can come on up. Come on, Commissioner Edmondson, you can do it. First resolution.
Oh, that's why he was on the dais.
Come on, don't you want that feeling of sitting up here?
I mean, it used to be your home.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm here with Eileen Bouclé, which you all met last month. She's introducing the SMART plan, which is something that is highly endorsed by the county as well as the state. We're receiving state, federal funds, as well as local funds, MDX funds. We have a lot of funds that's coming in here. If some of you had not heard about the SMART plan before last week, this has been going on for a while, and it's our way of connecting all the different cities, all parts and areas of this county together, and it's time that we do that. It's also time that we put together some mass transportation, because right now, we're suffering from serious traffic congestion, and hopefully this will help alleviate some of that. It's not going to alleviate all of it, but hopefully it'll help alleviate some of it. And Eileen is here to discuss with you the SMART plan. I'm here to hear what your reactions will be. And I think you all are on board now, because you were the only city that did not show up to the cities, the municipalities meeting for the FEC corridor. And that will be coming right here next to you. So hopefully when we have the next meeting, we'll see the mayor and the manager right in place to push for your own city.
Absolutely,
Okay?
absolutely.
So, again, thank you. I'm going to sit back in the back, and I'm going to hear what your responses are and take that into consideration when we're talking about the FEC corridor.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Edmondson, Madam Mayor, Manager, and members of the council. It's a pleasure to be back here before you today, this week. I brought a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that I went through last week, so if I may hand it out again. Okay, thank you. And I have extra copies for anyone in the public that would like a copy as well. The Strategic Miami Area Rapid Transit Plan is, can you hear me? Yes? You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear her fine?
The Strategic Miami Area Rapid Transit Plan was endorsed by the TPO Governing Board in April of 2016. Primarily, its focus is transit as the #1 priority, transit and transit supportive services. So what that means is that they're looking to extend the existing transit system we have today, the 25 miles of Metro Rail. They have prioritized 6 corridors, the 6 SMART Plan corridors. Those 6 SMART Plan corridors, which is on this page with the map and are identified here on this slide, are the primary workforce commute routes in Miami-Dade County where we have the heaviest congestion. And right now, if you're part of that workforce commute that's traveling on those 6 corridors, you don't really have a viable transit option. So you're more than likely to be a single occupant vehicle in a car in that congestion on a daily basis. So the SMART Plan intends to expand accessibility to transit in Miami-Dade County. We had a slide in here that is showing the amount of residents that would live within the 2-mile radius of the 6 SMART Plan corridors, and that's approximately 63% of our county population, which is 1.7 million residents. In addition to that, we have a significant amount of employer-based accessibility with the SMART Plan. So it allows again, the workforce commute to access their work on in the transit plan. At this time, we are working towards completing the environmental phase on the 6 smart plan corridors so that we can submit our applications for funding. We intend the TPO governing board has adopted a financial framework that includes pursuing new federal and new state transportation funds that we would potentially bring here to South Florida in order to fund our plan. These funds are highly competitive. For federal funds, we are competing nationally against other large areas. At the state level, we are competing against the other large metropolitan areas that are going after the same funds. So we look forward to your support so that we can add that to our package, and our goal is to show the strong support in Miami-Dade County, and that is the best practice we see in other areas when they go for funding. At this time, I'd like to know if there are any questions or additional information that you would like from last week and this week that I can provide to you.
Thank you for being here. When Commissioner Suarez was the president of the Miami-Dade League of Cities, this was his big initiative. Now Mayor Suarez, I should say. So he well versed us throughout the whole year during his presidency with the league, with the SMART plan. Which, needless to say, it's beyond necessary. So I definitely agree with that. I'd like to hear what the commission has to say. The manager and I actually went to the charrette for the SMART plan. And we, at the charrette, and we apologize, we didn't make that meeting, Commissioner, but we were at the charrette and we had identified sort of the need for the Northeast Corridor as it relates to how it is now with the way it even was 5 or 8 years ago. In terms of the congestion, there's a school right across Biscayne Boulevard. So while we did miss the meeting, I would like to hear what we potentially, you all have as far as that would accommodate the Northeast Corridor, which in any given day, Saturday or Sunday, to get to 79th Street would take 2 minutes. But on Monday through Friday, between the hours of 7 to 9, it can take an hour back to back. So I'd like to hear, what were some of the ideas that you all had for the Northeast Corridor, as is definitely up and coming as it relates to MIMO, Midtown, and all this area that's sort of feeding forward.
Yes.
So that's our, at least for my big interest, what would be happening in the Northeast Corridor from the TPO perspective.
So to answer your question, just today, the TPO committee, we have 3 TPO committees as part of our structure to do our transportation planning. Today, the Transportation and Mobility Committee met, of which Board Member Edmondson is on our committee and a key champion for the SMART plan. And in that committee, they endorsed 11 SMART plan demonstration projects. One of those 11 SMART plan demonstration projects is a demonstration or pilot station at the Midtown Design District at the Northeast Corridor. It is considered a temporary station location for the immediate time being until the permanent stations can be located and built. So the permanent station locations along the Northeast Corridor still have to go through that site selection process. It is a party agreement. North of 77th Street, the track is owned by FECI. Mm-hmm. South of that, FECI has sold the access rights to SFRTA. So anything north of 77th requires private third-party concurrence and approval. So those stations need to be selected with concurrence and approval of FECI, Miami-Dade County, and the Florida Department of Transportation. So there's 3 entities involved there. South of 79th Street, it's direct with SFRTA and Miami-Dade County. So today, as I mentioned, Commissioner Edmondson's committee, Transportation and Mobility Committee, endorsed 11 projects, one of which was at this critical location. We are calling this a temporary station at this time and a demonstration project because we were able to locate an area that was completely within the SFRTA right-of-way and not requiring us to go and seek additional right-of-way from private property owners that may elongate the process. So we wanted to quickly implement an interim station while the rest of the corridor is being finalized and the environmental document is being signed and all those stations are being constructed. So the intent of the committee is that this station will be in service when SFRTA rolls out their service in the next few months, that you're going to have at least a interim station in the Midtown Design District area. It will be located under the I-195, right immediately under I-195 on Northeast 2nd Avenue, right in that area where we have parking already there with the Miami Parking Authority. And it's wholly contained within the existing right-of-way of both the state, FDOT, and SFRTA track. So we're able to place it right in that area and then now pursue demonstration funds with the state so we can have that ready to go. That's the first and
Yeah.
most immediate update in the Northeast.
Aside from going to the Charette Smart Plan, we also had a meeting here at the office, and their name escapes me. And at that meeting, they were discussing all of the requirements or what would be needed if we wanted a station, what that would look like. One of the conversations we had with them and that we had told them that they were not aware of was that there's 15 acres off of Biscayne Boulevard right now that is within El Portal and a portion of the city of Miami that is completely unbuilt and untouched and undeveloped.
Is that owned by
It's
the
not
city?
owned,
Oh,
it's
oh,
privately owned.
Okay.
So that would be, I know it's not something that you all would, it's a little more difficult, but when we had mentioned it to the gentleman and the lady that came here after the charrette, they had not known that. So they thought that was really interesting information because what a great opportunity that developers are going to come in. There's really no renderings at all just yet for us. We're probably going to see it in the next 6 to 9 months to a year. That, could that be a conversation and would we even qualify? Because again, I know that they said there was like 6 to 9 steps to even qualify to be considered to have a station of any kind here. But they said that the fact that there's 15 acres that's undeveloped, we should definitely make ourselves heard and you never know.
Absolutely, yes. Was that a meeting with SFRTA?
Oh my gosh.
I'm looking at my notes now, I can't.
I definitely, I can look for tomorrow my emails and I'll make sure that I'll give it to your office and to the manager. We both have it. But I think it would be, I believe that the question that we actually had from them is what would the next step be? And then the email that we received was there would be, you have to qualify, and there was qualifiers, and there was like 6 or 8 that we would have to actually meet to be considered. But again, their eyebrows were raised because they thought it was very interesting that we had 15 acres that we don't have, but it's within our proper, and being of a small town, there tends to be, less, I don't want to say red tape, but there'd be something less, a little easier to possibly go through some hoops to even make something like that come to life. And I said that we have a pretty good relationship with the owners of the property. They're really at an infant stage. They don't have anything in their mind thought out. They definitely want a mini Midtown or something like that. But I believe that they would be interested in a conversation and even entertaining that what would be next or what would be required or how that partnership would look like.
Well, I'll be happy to assist in making sure that conversation continues. If you're able to share that email with me, I'll make sure to, because at this time what we're doing is we want to have the state re-engage that environmental document. It had been placed in abeyance because the owner of the track, FECI, was focused on the Brightline to get that up and running, but now they're back at the table and we want to make sure that that process gets going as quickly as possible, just to make sure that your interest and your property is being considered. So I'll be happy to work with you. I do want to share one comment that the state made regarding the stations on the Northeast Corridor. I think it would be very important to make sure that we're looking at the O&M, operation and maintenance of the station. And if there are developers along the Northeast Corridor that are interested in partnering, if they can be a part of that component of the project, that will go very far. Because getting capital construction funds, we have access to request capital construction funds from federal and state level, but operation and maintenance, we do not. So we need to solve that issue of operation and maintenance. So if this location has a developer that would be open to looking at that type of participation, that would
help.
Yes,
Yeah.
it would.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah, and I think as far as updates on the Northeast Corridor, it's those next steps is to establish who will be providing the service. Will it be Brightline or will it be SFRTA? Once that commitment is made to Miami-Dade County, we can then start negotiating because that party will be involved in approval of the site selections.
Okay. Any questions to Arlene? No, very excited. I know I was asked before he was not the president. He's like, why is your logo not on here? We know there's only 8 people in your town, but El Portal's logo needs to be on here. So,
We want to put it on there.
no, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Emerson. Thank you for being. At this time, we do have a resolution. If the attorney can please read the resolution into the record.
Yes, Madam Chair. A resolution of the Council of the Village of El Portal, Florida, endorsing and supporting the Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization's strategic Miami Area Rapid Transit Plan, providing for conflicts and providing for severability and providing an effective date.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion to accept resolution that the attorney just read? Motion's been made by Councilperson Mathis. Is there a second? Second by Councilperson Roman. Any discussion? I'm going to close the council meeting, open it up for public comment. Any public comments on this resolution? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public comments, open it up back to the council. Ms. Manager, make it a roll call.
Yes. Councilperson Roman?
Yes.
Councilperson Mathis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson?
Yes.
Mayor Cabillas?
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Anybody from Comcast here? Okay. We're going to go to the second resolution. The second resolution is a police take-home pilot program. If I could have the attorney read the resolution into the record, and then I'll open up for council discussion.
A resolution of the Council of the Village of El Portal, Florida, establishing a take-home vehicle policy and procedures, providing for conflicts and providing for severability and providing an effective date, introduced by Village Manager.
Excellent, thank you. Before I'll ask the attorney and the manager to interject, just an update. At the public safety meeting that was held on May 1st, we had, I mentioned to the committee that we would be going back with the manager and the chief to discuss some incentives in the hopes that we can work with our recruitment and retention of our police officers. While many, if not most of them, love being here, we're at a time right now that after Parkland, there was a tremendous domino effect throughout the state and in Miami-Dade County, which affected us directly. And as part of my report, I talk a little bit about how in April 7th, I had to go to a mayor's roundtable with the superintendent, where we were bringing our chiefs with us, and I actually invited the manager as well. And at that meeting, it was discussed the impact that it's going to have throughout all the police departments, because there will be a mandate that there must be a police officer present at every secondary school, which is middle school and high school. And as a result, that demand just opened up the recruitment to all the agencies in Miami-Dade County. And as a result, villages such as Biscayne Park and ourselves will be squeezed a little bit because, you know, while we are great and we are small, we are not able to pay, you know, big salaries or anything of that nature. So although in the recent negotiation, the manager was able to negotiate, they went from 32 to a 35 starting salary. The one thing that after meeting with the chief and the police officers that we felt would be a big win was the take-home car. And I'm going to allow the manager to elaborate a little bit the pros and the cons, if there's any of that, and I'll allow her to get into that. But I wanted to mention something before Commissioner Edmondson left, and that was one of the reasons that I was okay with bringing this to the committee and to the council is because Commissioner Edmondson, when she was the mayor here in 2002, she actually introduced the pilot program for take-home cars, and they had it in place for about a good year. And it was only one officer that said something that probably should not have said it enough where it upset, you know, the mayor and council, and he went on, it was just it was an unfortunate situation, and then the council removed the take-home car. That was 2002, we're 16 years later. I don't think there's any officers from that era here, maybe just Sharp and Officer Huffnagel then. So that was one thing, and I had mentioned it to Commissioner Edmondson that she took a leap of faith that I was going to ask the council and the committee to do it as well. And with that, I'm going to ask the manager and attorney to interject anything that I might have left out.
If I may, we did review the numbers. When I came on board here with the Village of Alpert Powell, I knew this had been an issue. I was told and brought up to speed about just the financial difficulty it was to keep take-home, or to do take-home cars, but we looked at those numbers and realized we have new cars now, and we're able to not deal with the excessive repairs, and that would be an expense to afford the officers. But also, we are in a warranty with these new cars, and though it will run out faster, maybe 2.5 years to 3 years as opposed to 5 years, we are willing to, review things, do this pilot for a year, and see how it works out in terms of the expense to the village. But when we really crunched the numbers, it wasn't an increase in insurance. There is only to be a real increase in the fuel costs that it will cost the village. And the officers have agreed to do a bi-weekly payback from their paycheck, which is standard from other municipalities as well as the county, based on the miles that the officers will be driving to and from work, home. We assess that at $30 to $40 per paycheck, and that fee we would utilize to offset the increased fuel costs. I think a one-year pilot program will help us and will show good faith on the village's part, but I think the officers will do a good job within this program, and we can perhaps work together to ensure the success.
Attorney, do you need to add anything to that?
No, just to emphasize that the whole purpose of the take-home vehicle program is for portal-to-portal use by the officers, and there is obviously an expectation that there may be incidental use. As the manager pointed out, the officers are subsidizing in part the program, especially concerning the fuel costs, depending on how far they will travel from home back and forth to the village. In addition, this is expected to run concurrent with the collective bargaining agreement we just negotiated with the police department, so that when we do have the reopening in 1 year, this most likely will be incorporated into that agreement also.
And one of the last things that I did in the last, since we all met as a committee, I reached out to a couple of the towns who have the program, which actually, out of the 34 municipalities in Miami-Dade County, I would say 97% of them have the take-home vehicles. But I called the small towns like Biscayne Park, which is similar to size than us, and West Miami, but the other ones you really can't really, even though it's 5,000 residents, you can't really. They said in the years that they've had the program, the pros have outweighed the con. And they said that while it's hard to imagine it this way, and there's more miles on the car, the police officers just tend to, take care of the car better because they feel like it's theirs and they're going home with it. So there was just sort of that sense as well. So, but I'd like to hear from the council, especially Councilperson Mathis, who's not in the committee and was not there for the initial conversation, to be able to ask the manager or myself or the attorney or the committee any questions.
Madam Mayor, as the Admin and Finance Chair, I gave it some thought after our committee meeting, and I asked our manager and our CFO to provide an analysis, a cost analysis that was done to review this. And so So I finally got something back today, which I believe, there are copies coming, but I do believe that this is information that's important for the entire, council to review. Because when taking into consideration decisions like this, although I did say at the committee meeting that I will support it, and I really do, from the bottom of my heart, want to support it, where I struggle is the size of our village. I understand that our village, that 90% of the municipalities operate. I understand that there are other municipalities such as Biscayne Park that, are pretty close in size. But the one difference of our village is that we're mostly a residential village. Biscayne Park has commercial, Ball Harbor has commercial, Virginia Gardens has commercial. And so my biggest concern here is not that the officers aren't going to take care of the cars, is where the funding's coming from. Where are we getting this from, and how are we going to sustain it? And I understand that it's a one-year pilot. I think we need to be very clear, should we move forward with this, that it is a pilot. I don't know, for a pilot to work, obviously, I think a year's time is pretty good. I don't think anything less would give us, a really good. I took a look at the mileage year-to-date on the stats that were provided by the interim chief of police. And they do pretty much come in line with the documentation that was provided by Irwin. He estimated that on average, the miles that our cars per year have is 7,000. He's estimating that with this program, the mileage is going to double. It's going to be 21,040. In addition to that, he's also estimating the gas is going to also double. So we're going to go from 13,100 to 26,275. Repairs, obviously, will increase now because of the mileage. And so as the village manager mentioned, the warranty, it's not going to last the 5 years if the cars were left here on village premises. They're driven out, then the warranty is being, according to the estimates that, and I believe that our CFO was pretty conservative with these estimates. It's going to be $2,500 year 3 for repairs, year 4, 5, 6, 7. When you look at purchasing new vehicles year 7, and again, I understand that this is a pilot for 1 year, but we do need to look at what this would look like long term. When you're looking at this long term, what he provided was $387,488, the cost of the gas, repairs, and purchase of new vehicles, versus without take-home cars, $96,700. That's a significant difference. Again, I want to support this from the bottom of my heart. I just need to make sure that you guys are provided with all of the data that I was provided, and that you can ask questions accordingly. I almost feel like I wish I would have been a part of the PBA negotiations, because I would have probably given them a higher increase than doing the take-home cars. With the overall, I know that we're a little late in that regard, but I think based on, the other thing that I do want to share is that, not only does our municipality, are we smaller, and we don't have the commercial, in order to, sustain the taxes and the revenues. But also our police department, the size of it, it's, we're talking about 5 full-timers, and so with 5 full-timers, they have their own cars, they just don't take them home. I would think that they do take care of their cars, they just don't take them home. And so, you know, I think it's my responsibility as a council and the, you know, chair of admin and finance, and as a resident. Because if anything, this is going to, you know, really affect the residents, you know, more than it will, I think, the fact that we're not competitive. You know, I said before, there is value to working in this village. I'll leave it at that.
Couple things. Biscayne Park has 0 commercial. We have commercial. Biscayne Park has 1 school. They are 97% residential. Their annexation was not approved. So the reason that they can sustain even being a village is because their millage is 9.7%. But they have no commercial, and they never will, because they have no room for commercial. We have commercial because we're going to be developing the sanctuary, which just got approved in planning and zoning, and it's coming to the June and then July council meeting. And then hopefully we'll have the Nature Trail, Little Farm, and then of course the annexed area, which is going to be 2 apartment buildings with retail on the lower level. So that's just a point of correction, because Biscayne Park has 0, just 1 preschool. And preschools really don't pay taxes. Okay, so when I first received this numbers from Irwin, I had a lot of questions. Because to me, keep in mind, take-home cars is not new to the village. The chief and the sergeant had a take-home car for years. And what I had asked the CFO to do was give me actualities. Go to the black car, go to David Atlett's car, and tell me the impact it's had since it's been driven home. Because that to me is more of a reality than this. When I looked at this and I dug into it and I asked Irwin, the answers that I felt I got did not really back up the data he was giving here. And even when we were doing the calculation with the what the police officers were going to pay, I was on the phone with the attorney and the manager and a conference call, and the math was slightly it was lacking, and we were able to find a couple of errors that we found. So I'd caution and looking at this, because when I saw it, I don't think it's a real reality. I think, and unfortunately, Irwin's not here to truly ask him. But when you dig into this and ask real questions, Irwin's not going to give you the straight answer that you may want, Councilperson Roman, because I definitely know how detailed oriented you are. So keep that in mind, and definitely what I wanted to see was there's 2 cars on this property that have been take-home cars, because take-home cars is not new for us, you know. So it's not, and with 2 take-home cars that we've had in the 9 years I've been here, the police budget has actually decreased. So there's the impact. It has not really been a financial one. I think the impact is more the reality of them taking them home and sort of letting that go. But the impact is not as, I think, monetarily as this is made out to be. Because, you know, the first couple of times that I participated with the negotiation, you know, I was always presented with numbers that I often went home and thinking, well, you know, I'm definitely not a finance person, but to some extent I am, as I own a business. But I never got what I really thought that the council should see. And give me actuals. Go to the black car. What mileage did the black car have? That was going to Palmer Pines every single day. That went to the marshals every single day when Chief Morales worked there. Give me some actuals to compare to. If you take a look at the gas, when we had 2 cars going home, it wasn't astronomical. It's not as astronomical as we think it to be. I think that, and again, I really wish Irwin was here. And like I said at the last, it's the phones. And like I said at the last meeting, one of the reasons I didn't press Irwin to get those numbers is because A, it's a pilot program, and I think that we need to get it no matter what.
Yeah.
For the black car and for David Atlett's car. Because those are actuals. Though, you have two cars sitting in our property that we can take a look at the miles, we can take a look at because in his system, he has it by vehicle. So if it's vehicle 10, vehicle 5, vehicle 4, he's gonna tell you the expense per each one, because that's what I wanted to know. And when he was giving me expenses, well, you're giving me based on older cars, or when you look at gas, when you look at where we're at with gas, and when you're putting gas on a used cars tend to just take more fuel than a newer car. So again, I didn't get the numbers. If I did, I think it would have been, but I think it's something that we need to insist him on. I want to know what the numbers are for the black car, that again is on our property, as well as, I don't know who drive former David Atlas car, but that's also on the property. And again, those have been two take-home cars. So take-home cars has not been, anything really new to the village. We're just expanding it and making more of a policy, because there was really never a policy to it. It was just, here, your chiefs will take it
Correct. So we're
up.
expanding the number of vehicles now. According to the mileage that was provided on the stats, the 7,000 is right on. So the stats that were provided up to April say that on average, for the 4 months, each car, and this is on average, is 523 miles.
Yeah, based on the stats.
Based on the stats.
And times 12.
So times 12, that's 6,280. If you divide that by times 5, that's 31,000. When you look at it, 6,280, he put 7,000 as the mileage. So his numbers there seem correct to me.
Any other questions for Councilperson Roman?
No, no questions. No questions. I would like to say, first of all, Councilperson Roman, I appreciate the work you put in, putting this together for us. I still feel like there's a balance that we have to look at, where it comes to money and sustainability, which I spoke about in the committee meeting, and how we have to look at decisions because things aren't sustainable, or doesn't seem to be sustainable. I think that upcoming we have the budget and the budget workshop. That's going to be coming to us soon. I think when we see the full budget, we'll understand more of everything that we have as far as like exactly where we stand, where it comes to our finances. I think that when I say that there has to be a balance we all have to think about, I think that we do have to not only look at these numbers, which I appreciate again, Councilperson Roman, for this work, but we also have to look at the retention and retaining our officers in this comparative market. It's kind of like when any type of business, if you look at it in that type of situation with the incoming money that's coming from the state, and just with other police stations, calling our officers, calling our best officers, because they look at the information and they see the ones that have been here for a long time, and calling them and saying like, hey, how's everything going over there in El Portal? Well, guess what? You come over here, I got this take-home car for you. Your salary goes up, and so the only reason why I bring that up is because, I said during the committee meeting that when you have a community, when you have a village, the first thing and the number one thing you have to look at is safety. You can have a village that's beautiful, you can have a village that's landscaped beautifully, you can have a village that has all type of events. If the people that live in the village aren't safe, that's the number one thing. So we have to retain our officers and retain our best officers. So that's that conflict that we all have to answer within ourselves. What Councilperson Roman gave us and the reality of the money versus the safety of our residents and keeping our best officers around so that our residents are the most safe as possible. Thank you.
Councilperson Mathis?
I had a conversation with the manager regarding this. My whole take on it was I don't think that it's going to be $40 a page. I don't think that's enough most of the police officers live, what, 20 miles away? My only concern was, I'm for it, but I think that pay-in fee for the repairs, I think that needs to be looked at. I'm all for us competing with other municipalities. I'm all for us, people knowing that we're here, and that's what you're gonna get when the police cars are parked in their neighborhoods. So the only concern that I have is the buy-in.
So the buy-in, it's, if 1 to 30 miles round trip, it's 30 biweekly, right? And if you live 31 to 60, it's 35. If 61 to 90, 40, and anybody over 90 would not be allowed to participate in the program. What did you think was more reasonable? Just sure.
Well, I mean, we know that auto maintenance is pretty expensive, so I just think that we need to really look at those numbers. I mean, if you're looking at it and comparing it to Miami-Dade, yeah, they can pay $40 because they have more people buying into it at $40. I mean, not to penalize them for having cars, but we have to maintain these cars. It's our responsibility.
According to what, if I may, what the CFO, and I don't know if you guys have this part, it says if the officers were to reimburse us for this excess, we would have to deduct $81 per pay period from each officer. Miami-Dade County is charging each officer $50 per pay period to take his car.
Actually, I think the chart that we used was Biscayne Park, and the fees are exactly the same in Biscayne Park. That's the fee schedule we got. Vice Mayor Nickerson? Any other comment before I open up to public comment? Okay. Let me close up the council and open up to any public comments. Any resident wants to come up and...
Ms. Brooks, that doesn't work. Would you mind coming over here?
No, I would probably think so.
Sorry about that.
I don't know how I'm going to do this. Okay, maybe this way. Good evening, Marilyn Brooks, 400 Northeast 90th Street. I know that this issue has been a problem for a long, long time with the police department taking home their cars. I do understand what Councilperson Roman is saying. But since I understood that the mayor and the manager said it's a pilot and it's for a year. How many officers? We do have 5 permanent officers. Yes, we need to consider where they live, the mileage. And again, we need to consider our finances, because that's number 1. We're also considering the safety of our villagers, number 2. However, I would ask that we give it a year try, and if it doesn't work, we come back to what it was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks, and welcome back. Any other resident? Good evening.
Officer Benitez, full-time officer for the Village of El Portal. How are you all?
Good, how are you?
Good. I wanted to briefly touch on a few comments that were actually made in reference to this program. As you all know, I started El Portal January 2017 and gone through various budget meetings along with all of you and committee meetings and meetings in reference to the police department. And I've learned a lot. I've actually learned what it takes to actually run a village and what takes place during these negotiations and so forth. And as you all know, I became a full-time officer August of last year, and just finished my first contract with the PBA. And in that contract, again, one of the things that we actually spoke about was the take-home cars. And I started to do a little bit of research, also trying to help our current interim chief, trying to come up with numbers and real numbers based on our current use. One of the things that I did notice during our last negotiations as to the reasons why the cars were not approved was because of specific numbers that you all received from your CFO. Numbers that I actually didn't necessarily agree with, but I'm going to give you all an example. The cars in question, back when we were first negotiating, were only the brand new cars, the cars that you guys were nice enough to actually buy for the village, where were needed, because the cars that were here in the past were actually not cars that should have been on the road, not safe at all. So these new cars actually brought a value to the village and brought a value to the police officers. But one of the things that I noticed when those numbers were given, and the numbers that were used were based on cars that, believe it or not, were not even here. Cars that I actually helped auction away. So what happens is, there shouldn't be a cost in maintenance at all for any of those cars. Because the 2017 cars that we are actually currently using right now, to be honest with you, have not even had their first oil change. And they've been here quite some time. Another comment that was made was in reference to one specific vehicle, which is Vehicle 12. Vehicle 12, as you all know, was actually purchased in 2015. That vehicle was actually issued to a former officer here, which retired, Atlet. Atlet actually used that car on an everyday basis while he was on duty to work. The car was not a take-home car. It was only used strictly for patrol. That car was then issued to our current interim chief. That car was actually taken as a take-home car, not patrol, for a substantial time. That car was then issued to me when I became a full-time officer. Didn't take it home. I patrolled. Then it was issued to Officer Battaglia, which did the same thing. Then it was issued to V, also patrolling. But I also wanted to make sure you guys understand that that vehicle, I did some research, that vehicle has only had 4 oil changes since the time it's been. No mechanical repairs, no alternators, no batteries. It still has brand new tires, the original tires. Yes, it's had its fuel cost because we need to put it on the road, but it hasn't had any mechanical charge. So that's why originally during the contract negotiations, I didn't agree with whatever numbers were actually presented by the CFO because they're not true. The numbers that were actually presented were actually for vehicles that were used by part-timers, which are our old vehicles. But let's take our old vehicles as an example. I recently helped to auction off 4 vehicles. The auction took a substantial amount of time. We weren't able actually to auction them. These vehicles got in worse shape. Some of them actually got broken into. One caught on fire. And then it turned out that they just didn't look nice in the church where they were parked. We needed to get rid of them. So we made a decision. We're going to go ahead and junk them. And that's what we did. One of the vehicles in particular, Car 01, did some research on Car 01. Car 01 was actually purchased back in 2007 by the village. Brand new car. That car actually left here with over 100,000 miles. That car was actually issued to multiple officers. But I want you guys to keep in mind that one of the main reasons for a take-home program, I believe, the moment that you issue one car to one driver, I guarantee you that that car is going to be taken care of a lot more than if you share this car with a substantial amount of people. Another comment that was made actually about mileage. The issue with mileage is you have to look at the mileage for those specific vehicles, not for all vehicles. Because the mileage report that you may have received are going to specifically state the mileage that are also being used by the part-time officers or reserve officers that we have no control over. Because they don't have a set schedule. Set schedule is set by the full-timers, and we pretty much know what their mileage is going to be because we already know where they live. We know that some of them live 30 miles, 35 miles, etc., and we already know the average amount of mileage that they actually drive on a daily basis. Those are true numbers. Everything else, we don't know because we don't know how much mileage we're going to actually put on the other vehicle. So I think it's better to maybe look at true numbers that we actually do have, true cost, in reference to what other municipalities are doing. That's one of the things that I always had an issue with, a problem, because this program is actually, and Major actually stated, it's actually used by a substantial amount of other municipalities. They make it work. I don't know how Biscayne Park does it. 14 full-time officers, 17 part-time officers. All these officers are constantly using part-time vehicles, whereas the 14 full-timers are taking them home. They make it happen. You're right, there's no businesses in Biscayne Park. We have a substantial, a lot more commercial. We even have sidewalks. Biscayne Park doesn't. How they're making it happen, I don't know. But I will tell you something else that maybe can be considered, so that way there's no additional cost at the end of the year versus a mechanic. Let's use the right mechanic. Let's use a certified mechanic. Let's take the cars to the right locations where wherever there's going to be a specific repair, let that repair be done the right way to make sure that there's no added cost on repairs.
Thank you, Officer Benitez. Any other comments from the public?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul March. I live at 318 Northeast 90th Street. I've been a resident of El Portal for 31 years. What Officer Benitez is saying is totally true. This is not a sales pitch. I have worked in you people's cars before. I'm the owner of Dade Mechanics Auto and Truck, as some of you here might know. If you don't service your vehicles, you're not going to make it. I presently service, how ironic, Biscayne Park, Sunny House, Surfside, WSVN. Point being made happens to be, how do these people do it in a collective fashion? Maintenance, maintenance, maintenance goes a long way. As he mentioned, how are they able to maintain their cars? It is true that police vehicles go through a lot more wear and tear than your average vehicle does. For every police car, FBI car, if you're basing it off of 3,000 miles, that vehicle has ran so many hours in just patrol and idling. So your vehicle that has 100,000 miles, it has 200,000 miles. If you don't maintain the car, you're not going to make it. I have vehicles, all sorts, of course, not including Dodge products, Ford products, Chevrolet, Lexus, that go 150, 200,000 miles without major repair. Moving along from the sales pitch, as if it sounded that way, I apologize. There is total truth that's right up to my alley. From Chief Morales, to Ernie, to a few other people. They know me. My credentials speak for themselves. If we're going to have a city that's going to maintain itself, it has to be run correctly. Officers taking their cars home, it's not strange. I think on a personal level, it is okay for them to take it home. Part of them taking it home on the maintenance level should have nothing to do with their pay grade or anything else. If we expect people to give their lives and secure our city, we have to give it back. It should be given the utmost respect for law enforcement to be able to do their job, just like the city of Miami, just like the city of North Miami, and have no problem with this. The issue of how far they live or where they live, that means more due diligence needs to be done in the area of how they perform their duties. Just simply wearing the badge is alone, just alone, credible enough for them to take a vehicle home. That's a small investment we give in our community. In any community, it should be. If they live 40 or 50 miles and they come to work every day and do a good job, that's all we need to worry about. It's a rough world out here. It's getting worse. Where they live means they're willing to come to work every day, because there are people that cannot perform their job living 5 miles away. It's irrelevant where they live. It's fuel, it's maintenance on the vehicles. True, that should be relevant when it comes to life and death. Because when we call 911, we expect them to show up. So these people who live far away, they come to work every day. That's the least that we can do for them, is give them the respect that they deserve, like all law enforcement deserve. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else in the public? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public comments. Any other discussion from the council? Questions for the mayor, manager? For the manager attorney, I meant.
So just a couple of comments that I have. The mileage that was used, I personally double checked it with the stats. So again, I'm not saying that I'm not for this. I just want to make sure that everybody has the real data. And I have a problem if we keep coming up and saying that our CFO numbers are not correct. That's another story for a different meeting. But if we can't trust the numbers of our CFO, that's something that's much greater and that we need to look at. The other thing that I would highly recommend is that we do have some type of maintenance program, which I don't believe I saw in there. I could have missed it in the resolution. But the fact that a vehicle hasn't had an oil change is not something to really celebrate, because we know that at the least amount, an oil change is needed to keep a vehicle going. So I would, if it's not already in there, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would ask that we do have some type of maintenance program to ensure that we are taking care of the vehicles and that they are getting their oil changes, because if we're adding additional mileage, then they're probably going to need additional care.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Manager, in the PBA new contract that we received, it indicates that actually it now goes to certified mechanic, and then the regular maintenance is
That
on.
was part of the new contract with the PBA. Also,
And I think the other thing that the police department, and Chief, chime in whenever you want, does differently, is we actually have a fleet manager or someone that's overseen, where we didn't have that before. Right, am I wrong?
Okay. We do have a fleet manager, and he does keep track of necessary maintenance for, like I said, oil changes and those things, tires. Presently, again, we have new cars, so we're still under warranty. Of course, we will be taking care of those cars. Oil changes come every, I think, 30,000 miles?
No.
So 3,000 miles? It is a certain, no, 3,000. Well,
Maybe that's what's wrong with ghosts.
yeah, but the problem is, if the car's sitting here, the battery dies.
Right.
We've had to jump so many of these vehicles because they've been sitting still for days at a time. On top of that, the oil changes is necessary if they're sitting here, so that could explain why they haven't been getting regular oil changes. But with new vehicles, and again, people paying attention to their vehicles and having ownership of it, we will definitely be on top of that, and we have a plan in place to take care of it.
So we have a part-time officer that, Officer Juarez, that comes in every Wednesday and checks every single vehicle to make sure that it's being maintained, and it's being washed, and it's being taken care of. Because the full-timers, like you said, they actually, that's their car. They come here and it stays here, and they are responsible for the maintaining of the car. But with that said, you know, we have 5 new cars, and the repair is going to be, it's not going to be like it was with the old cars that we had, which had over 100,000 miles. I'm not a mechanic, so that's why I asked Officer Benitez, who has actually helped me tremendously, because he does own his own company, he knows about mechanics. So I reached out to him so he can come and help me, and he has done a wonderful job on that. I also reached out to Miami Shores, because they have a repair shop there on site. And so the lieutenant over there had asked me, he went ahead and spoke to the chief, he spoke to the city manager, who in turn said that he wanted to speak to our city manager, and she had gone to speak to him. So that's another option we're trying to do, to see if we go ahead and have our cars, when needed, to have the oil change and being taken care of. Not only the 5 new ones that we have, but the ones that are left behind that we have.
Hold on, Paul. Any other comments before I close it up to public comments again?
I'm just gonna make a recommendation.
Let me I gotta open it for public comments. Let them finish, and then I'll reopen.
That since, you know, the whole numbers thing is going back and forth, we're going into it for a year. In 6 months, let's see where the numbers are, and we use that as a guide and go from there, if that's gonna be, you know, the sticking point. That's just a suggestion that I have.
I wonder if it's what I'm going to say. No, you go ahead and say it. You go ahead and say it.
Councilmember Roman, I provided you those numbers because you had asked on Friday evening for me to provide a cost analysis and other review documentation that we utilized to come up with this pilot program. I didn't have that accessible to me that Friday evening, but I did ask the CFO, who said he could not work on it until he came to work on Tuesday, today. So this morning, he then said he couldn't come in because he was going to the dentist. He broke his tooth in the front. So you asked me for something, and I gave you what we used as an analysis, but this wasn't final numbers. These were just what we reviewed with the CFO, and I think he sticks by these numbers, but we see that they're not altogether accurate in certain areas. So they were not final numbers, but they are the numbers he's picking in. So I did ask him to give us an analysis on the black car and the other take-home car. Maybe I should provide that, but I'm sure he will do that, you know, when he comes back to us on Thursday. He will be requiring it. So I just want you to know that the numbers, these are his numbers, but they aren't my numbers.
You know, I really don't want to say it, but I'm going to say this. You know, when I say that the numbers look, you know, I don't know. I don't mean because I don't trust or that Oren doesn't know what he's doing. I honestly believe that, you know, so I've been here for 9 years, and there's some institutional knowledge, good and bad, that comes with that. And we came from a culture here where the administration, the attorney, many police officers who are not here anymore, you know, especially administration, was just really an anti-take-home program. That, hey, I even bought into that. So part of me says this about Erwin, not because I think he doesn't know what he's doing. I think that I ask, and I will ask him if his train of thought is still somewhat skewed or influenced or still stuck in the ways that it used to be, because I think that this council has really worked hard to change the culture, to really move the village forward. And we really have done a lot of great things together since this council has been together since elected 2016. You know, even for me, it's been a way of changing my thoughts of the way that I was so used to working with an administration for 7 years as a councilwoman and then briefly as a mayor. That was our train of thought. No, 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 impossible. I mean, the attorney said it, manager said it, and, you know, and Councilperson Mathis, Vice Minister, we were here, and I think we almost bought into that. But I think when we remove ourselves from those thoughts and really formalize our own opinion, as a resident told me that it's important to have a backbone in your own opinion, and I believe in that. And you know, I was like, you know what? And that's when I started, after I got elected mayor, I went and I'd asked the other mayors in other cities, just sort of like, you know, not because we base our opinion or judgment or outcome on what they do, but it's a camaraderie as mayors, as council people, as attorneys, as managers, to sort of, you know, feed off of one another and how to do things better. So again, so I don't want to throw Erwin under the bus in any way, but I don't know if this is coming from an era where that's what Erwin, Councilperson Cubillos at the time, Councilperson Mathis, Councilperson Nickerson was sort of told for so long that this is no, 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 it's going to be very expensive, and this is not what we do. And so, you know, I allowed myself to be open-minded, and so we're here today. So that's really what I mean by that. I don't want Erwin to think in any way that, but I think it's coming from a culture that maybe he hasn't necessarily mentally shifted yet. If there's no more comments, I want to open up one more public comment before I open it up. So let me close the council meeting, open up for public comments. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you for having me again. How many squad cars do you have?
We have 5 new ones, but I'm going to let the chief chime in. She knows more than I know 5 new ones and 4 that were recently donated. So, 12. And then 12.
12. Okay. Seeing as how apparently I might be the wrong person for this job, because I have children in law enforcement and the military, as old or as young as I might look. I have kids that are on the older side, just as probably older as some of the police officers here. So you have a total of 12, right? I'll make you guys a great deal. I will give you free oil changes and inspections on 12 of your vehicles, effective tomorrow, at no charge, but as a city you can accept it at no charge, so each car will be $1. And after that, how many cars do you take home? Your offices.
Out of the 12 cars, there's 5 cars that go home. Well,
5 cars will get free oil changes from me.
6. There's
Sorry,
6
6.
total.
Oh, 6 breaks a deal.
There's 6 total cars.
5 cars, I'll give free oil changes. So as of tomorrow, you bring 12 of them to me, 2 a day, and you'll get free oil changes at $1 a piece, because we are the city. So rules and regulations must be followed. So as the mayor and the rest of you, ladies and gentlemen, that's my offer for being a resident and appreciating all what law enforcement have done for me. I can't be unbiased because my children are in law enforcement and military. How does that sound to save on lots of problems? And I'll give you a full inspection.
Well, I'm going to allow the chair of admin and finance to address you at this moment.
Sure you can, why not?
Thank you, Paul.
Anyway, it's not a trick. It's $1 per oil change for 12 of your vehicles, and 5 of the vehicles will get a lifetime of free oil changes. That's the least I could give back. Okay?
Thank you.
And if you look back in the history, it's not the first time I've done business with El Portal.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
I'm sure some of the officers here recognize me, see me. So when I said it's not a sales pitch, it really is not. So $1 per car. I'm sure I will have to add tax to the $1 and get paid by El Portal 90 days later. Partial joke with some truth to it. Okay?
Thank you, Paul. It's great seeing you.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. Later, when it's possible, can we speak about trash pickup?
Yes, sir.
Deal. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Pico?
Liliana Pico, 181 Northwest 87th Street. Do the residents get any discount, Paul? Do the residents get any discount as well? Of course. Okay.
I actually agree with Councilperson Mathis that $30 to $40 a paycheck is not enough. The federal reimbursement rate is 50 cents per mile. So just, you may want to keep that.
It's actually 54.
Is it now 54?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because we looked at the, yeah.
50, yeah. So, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Brooks, are you coming up, or are you chit-chatting with Paul and getting a deal too?
Brooks is trying to get a discount.
Okay, is the lady behind Ms. Brooks coming up? Okay, at this time, I'm going to close public comments. Look at that, he's become, and open it up back to the council. Any further discussion before I ask, Attorney Powell, did you read it into the record? Oh, okay, never mind. Any further discussion before I ask for a motion? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion for Resolution 2018-10? Motion's been made by Councilperson Mathis. Is there a second? Second by Councilperson Roman. Again, any discussion before I ask for roll call? Hearing none, Ms. Manager, may I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilperson Roman.
Yes. Where did my thing go?
Councilperson Mathis.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Padilla.
Yes.
Then, motion passes 4-0.
Okay, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Now, don't all just leave home with them tonight, okay? I'm sure there's a process involved.
The ink has to dry first.
Okay,
The ink has to dry first.
next we have Resolution 2018-11, agreement with NPDES annual reports, in which we are coming into, extending our service agreement with Craig Smith and Associates. So Attorney Powell, if you can read the resolution into the record.
A resolution of the Council of the Village of El Portal, Florida, to enter into an agreement with NPDES for annual reports, Craig Smith and Associates, providing for conflicts and providing for severability and providing an effective date.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to ask the manager to please elaborate. This was presented, I believe, in Planning and Zoning. So if you can just brief us, and as well as the audience.
Yes. Again, thank you for coming this evening, Orlando, Rubio, and Stephen Smith, representing Craig A. Smith and Associates, our engineering firm, that has agreed to take the role of engineering consultant for these reports that we have been delinquent in. We discussed this in Admin and Finance last week, and we are grateful to have the technical support, because we didn't have this for all these years. I think that may have a lot to do with why we were delinquent in those reports, because they are very technical. We hired a consultant, Robert Ruano, to do them, because he's pretty good at figuring things like this out, and he has some historical background with the village, but even he said it was too difficult, and again, needed an engineer. So I had been working with Craig A. Smith on some other projects, stormwater in El Jardín, and I know they have the historical knowledge as well with the village. They are able to handle this and fill in these reports and do it in a timely manner. They outline that in the service contract, and they're here if we have any questions. But we will be in compliance. We need to hurry and get that compliance going, because we did get a warning letter just today, because we're so far out of compliance that we need to hurry up and get these done. So with their assistance, I'm confident we will have those in before the end of summer.
I only have one question for Craig Smith, because you weren't at the P&Z meeting. How long do you all anticipate, based on what the manager has showed you that we need to do in terms of years, how long do you anticipate it's going to take you to get it done?
probably a couple months. And the FDP, last time we had a teleconference with them and Christia, they were looking for the village to adopt some SLPs. For the sake, just in case you have high turnover, somebody can always go back to the files, look at the SLPs. So we did this effort with the town of Golden Beach. So the one thing I'm gonna do is, get some assistance with one of my coworkers who helped Golden Beach, get up to snuff with their, MPD, we call it NEPDs, because MPDS is kind of rough to say, but, and MPDS stands for the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Program. And, the village, like Golden Beach and other municipalities, you're co-permittees with, Miami-Dade County. And, each municipality is responsible for handling their own, NEPDs program, which involves from, stormwater maintenance, to, detecting of illicit discharges into the river, public communication, public outreach, and things like that to quantify street sweeping programs, which you're not required to do here because you don't have gutters, so you don't have to do that. So anything that has that has to do with potential to pollute the little river or stormwater, what have you, that's part of the NEPDs program. So there are reporting requirements. Say 2 or 3 managers ago, he would ask us for plans and we would provide that for him, but he never asked us to assist him in filing these reports. And we thought he was handling it because he was here forever almost. So, but it turns out FDP never got these reports, and they've been asking for them for quite some time. And even all the new drainage system that we put in the village for on the west side, none of that has been inspected. So part of this scope includes getting one of our field representatives to come out and inspect every catch basin, make a report, and put that in the report as being inspected. So that's it. And then completing all the other parts of the reports that are out of compliance.
One of the things I'd like to add is it's important to understand in this process, okay, it's one of these necessary evils, if you want to call it. It needs to be done, but it's a partnership with us and you all to get this done. So everyone's clear, like we don't just handle everything, okay? We handle, organizing and get the reporting put together and the technical issues, but as far as, some of the maintenance issues that need to be done, we can, we'll work with you to say, hey, this needs to be done, and here's, help you with the program, but we've got to work together as a team to get this done, okay? So Christia will be working with you directly, okay? And then if you have anybody internally that you're going to say, hey, you know what, on this issue, I want you to work with this person or that person, we're happy to do it, but it's a team effort, okay? We've been there and done that, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. That it's critical, and especially when you're behind. We do have a good working relationship with the folks, but they expect you to get caught up. Okay, and it's multi-years of reporting that needs to get caught up, so we understand. Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
Stephen
Thank you very
Orlando.
much.
Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2018-11? Motion has been made by Councilwoman Roman. Is there a second? Second by Councilperson Mathis. Okay. I'll close the council, open up for any public comments on this particular resolution. Do you have any questions for the manager or for our engineering firm? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public comments, open it up back to the council. Council, any questions for the manager or to Craig Smith and Associates? All right, hearing none, Madam Manager, please have roll call.
Yes. Councilperson Roman?
Yes.
Councilperson Mathis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Padilla.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Let's go on to Resolution 2018-12, Interlocal Film and Entertainment Photo Agreement. Okay. Attorney Powell, can you read it to the record?
A resolution of the Council of the Village of El Portal, Florida, approving the renewal of the interlocal agreement between the Village of El Portal and Miami-Dade County to provide film permitting services.
This is an interlocal agreement that we, comes before us every 3 years, and it just recently expired. Therefore, it's up again. So is there a motion to approve resolution for the interlocal agreement for the Film and Entertainment Board? Made by Councilperson Mathis. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Roman. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll close council and open for any public comments on this particular reso interlocal agreement. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public comments, open it up back to the council. Any further discussion before I request a vote? Okay, hearing none, Ms. Manager.
I just think we should clarify the purpose of the resolution.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the purpose of the resolution and the agreement with Miami-Dade County is to permit the industry to go through a one-stop permitting process when they want to do photo shoots or filming in municipalities around the county. So to the extent that the different municipalities, they can just simply go to Miami-Dade County's designated office and obtain the necessary permits to conduct their shoots or videos within the municipality.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions to the attorney or the manager? Okay, hearing none, Ms. Manager, roll call.
Councilperson Roman?
Yes.
Councilperson Mathis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson?
Yes.
And Mayor Padilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Next, we have Resolution 2018-13 is our third extension for stormwater. If I can please have the attorney read the resolution into the record.
Yes, Madam. A resolution of the Council of the Village of El Portal, Florida, approving a third extension to the stormwater utility interlocal agreement between the Village of El Portal and Miami-Dade County.
Okay, if I can ask the manager to please elaborate on this interlocal agreement.
Yes, this is, this interlocal agreement is actually an extension for an additional 5-year term. 5-year term, I'm sorry. And this is our third one, not second one, I'm sorry, I said second. This is our third extension. We entered into this agreement with the county, the Department of Regulatory and Economic Resources back in May 2003. The village is to, we do not do this interlocal. This is a stormwater utility interlocal agreement. We do not renew. The village will have to create and implement a stormwater utility in accordance with the county, and we would have to do so within 30 days. We would have to pay all utility costs allocatable to the village. The village chooses to terminate this interlocal. We would need to request exemption from provisions with the utility. A lot of things that we cannot do. So it is a good thing for us to continue with this stormwater utility interlocal with the county.
I have a question. Now, I know on May 30th, there's a meeting with County Commissioner as it relates to the septic to sewer franchise or utility. Does this encompass that, or is that separate?
This is a separate matter. We will be creating a utility.
We will be creating it, okay.
When we meet with the commissioner on the 30th. This is something that's in existence for what we have.
Any questions to the manager from the council? Is there a motion for Resolution 2018, third extension for the stormwater interlocal agreement with the county? It's been moved by Councilperson Mathis. Is there a second? Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Close for public comments. Any comments or questions to the manager on this resolution 2018-13? Hearing none, I'm going to close public comments, open it up back to the council. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Manager, may I have roll call?
Councilperson Rona? Yes. Councilperson Mathis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nicholson?
Yes.
Mayor Padilla?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. All righty, thank you. We are now going to reports. The first up is my mayor's report. Huh? Oh, yeah, you want to do this part of, no, we have to vote on it, so you can go ahead and no one shut up from Comcast, huh? Okay, no, why don't you go ahead and, the first agenda item was Comcast cable bearing request, so I'll ask the manager to speak on their behalf. It was brought up at committee.
Yes, Comcast proposes to install fiber optic cables in front of the buildings within the grass areas by the directional bore. It's a public right-of-way. Their directional bore eliminates the need to have open cut trenches installations, which eliminates a lot of the restoration work when they open, these trenches to put this cabling in. Our engineering firm, Craig A. Smith, who's already left now, but they did review the plans and they had no objections to the proposed method of installation. And it will be the least invasive to hopefully improve the cable service here in the village of El Portal.
Okay, great, thank you. Attorney Powell, do I need to make a vote on this, or no, the information? Okay. Any questions to the manager on this? All right, I'll close it up for the public. Any questions on Comcast putting this in to for the manager? All right, hearing none, I'm going to close public comments and open it up back to the council. Thank you for that. Tell them they have our blessing and just let us know when they're going to start. Yes?
They're going to be digging trenches? There's going to be...
It's a different kind of boring that's not as invasive as...
They're going to have police officer on duty, right?
I don't know what the plan is. I'll have to look at that, but I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, if they're going to have a police officer on duty, they should hire ours as an off-duty.
Exactly.
Okay.
Good point. Thank you, Councilperson Mathis. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. So we're going out to the committee reports. I'm going to start off with my mayor's report, and I'm going to go ahead and just do planning and zoning and public safety all at the same time. I'll tell you all when so we can move a little smoothly. So last couple of months have been ongoing and pretty interesting here. So I want to thank the manager because she definitely keeps me abreast of every aspect that's going on in the village, whether it's work that has not been done years past or new work that's pending. And one of the things that we at the strategy session had asked for us to do was to really sort of clean up this place and make it a better quality of work life for our employees. And if you guys take the opportunity to walk around inside, it looks really nice and really clean. We have a great company that comes in to clean. She's going to be working on a minor renovation in the kitchen, so everything has been a sort of a minimal cost within budget. But at the end of the day, I think it's important. You got to keep your employees happy, and it's got to be clean and safe. So it's nice to see when you look at the strategy session. Actually, one of the things that this manager was able to actually do. So I want to thank her for that. The other thing is I left early at the April meeting because I was traveling, so I didn't get to, I'm touching a little bit on April. On April 10th, I hosted a mayor's roundtable to introduce the new attorney. I asked all of our vendors that we work regularly with, so we had Robert Ruano, Steve from Pannoni, we had Erwin, our CFO, Christy, of course, me, Orlando, who was just here, as well as the attorney, and Juan from Placervia. It was a great 2-hour meeting, and we really, everybody just spoke and basically was giving the attorney a rundown of what projects are pending, what are we working on, what's pressing, what needs our attention, and sort of just bring them up to speed. Something like that was great for us because it brought to the attention to the CFO that we need to charge back fees for the developers, so we did. So it's something that I may want to do maybe quarterly. I think it's a real opportunity to get all of the vendors that are not here regularly to sit down with the manager and the attorney and the mayor. That day, when I left at the council meeting, I had the opportunity to attend a municipal conference in Mississippi, which was for all the southern states. Most of the southern states, we all have the same challenges as it relates to whether it's sea level rise or anything of that nature. But it was an opportunity to hear what all of our challenges were on a state level and on a local level as it relates to policy and legislation. And one of the things that we all walked away with is that we're all fighting for more of home rule and allowing the municipalities to make more decisions based on the residents' needs as opposed to based on the county and state needs. And I think that's something that we're really going to have to work a little harder on next year. So it's really becoming aware of who all the players are on the state level, who all the players are on the county level, but mostly the state that wants to come in and sort of, do a cookie cutter program and expect that all 34 municipalities in Miami-Dade County is going to operate the same way. That's definite. If they think that they have never been to El Portal. So we fight for that, and that's why going to these conferences are really important. On May 2nd, I also sit on the board for the Film and Entertainment Advisory Council. I've not been able to make any of their meetings because it's always conflicting with something else. So I was able to go to that one, bringing forward the interlocal agreement that we had expired. But it's interesting because there's actually a lot of films filmed in Miami-Dade County, and more importantly, there's a lot here in El Portal. So it's really neat to sort of know that and ask them if they let us know ahead of time, because I think it's sort of a neat fact to have here. But more importantly, one of the things that I walked away with is just the amount of money that the state, the county, and municipalities are not receiving because of the lack of agreements that the local, county, and state can actually work together to bring film back. A lot of our films are lost to Georgia. So they're working on, how can, local municipalities, county, and state better provide incentives, because at the end of the day, it's going to be job creation, and it's going to just be more taxes for all the municipalities, the counties, and going up to the states. So that was more, that's where that meeting. So I was glad I was able to attend because I've missed like 9 meetings. I want to thank Harold Mathis. The 5K was great. It was a lot of fun. I mean, we all just must have laughed forever that day. It was early. It was really early. It was drizzling, but it was a lot of fun. So I know he's going to elaborate, but I just wanted to thank Councilperson Mathis for continuing that, and I hope it continues far great my time here, because it really is such a fun event. I want to thank our clerk. I want to thank our chief. I want to thank our manager. I want to thank Councilperson Mathis. I want to thank Councilperson Roman. I want to thank Vice Mayor Nickerson, along with myself. We all attended the Miami-Dade League of Cities Installation Gala. The Miami-Dade County League of Cities is an organization that works for the 34 municipalities. We represent the 34 municipalities, and we fight, as I said again, for home rule. So Councilperson Mathis has been on the board of directors for the last couple of years. He got sworn in, and the board of directors that night. The exciting part that I think more for El Portal is next year, every May, their president is sworn in, and next year will be their first time in 64 years that organization has existed that the president will be from El Portal. As long as I remain in the council, I will be sworn in May as the president of the Miami-Dade County League of Cities, which is not only an honor for me, but it's truly an honor for the village, because to have an organization that's been around for 64 years and that no one from El Portal has ever been the president, I think there's something to be said to that. I think I'm a first female Hispanic also, so not in Miami-Dade County, which I think is also sort of interesting. So that's exciting for the village. Nature Trail, the contract is done. Robert Ruano, we need the region superintendent and principal to decide on how much space they're going to give us. It's between 40 to 70 feet. That's the only thing we're waiting on, is for them to say that and then sign the contract, and other than that, we'll be good to go. Law Enforcement Gala was this past weekend. I want to thank the manager for being there, Officer Payne, Officer Burrell, Officer Riveron, Captain Iggy Carroll and his wife, Chief Huffnagel, Vice Mayor Nickerson, and myself. We were there in attendance for the Law Enforcement Awards Gala this past weekend. It's an opportunity to sort of really sort of show off what you're doing in your town as far as the police department. So our Chief Huff Nagel sits on the board of directors for that, so she's part of putting that installation or award ceremony together. I want to thank Hugh, Kristen, and Adam for always putting the Little River cleanup, and for the for the village for continuing to be a supporter of that. I was able to attend for the last hour and a half as I flew in that day, so it's another fantastic event that we do, and I want to thank them for spearheading that and always taking the time to put that together. And then I also want to note that both Adam and Kristen have a public space challenge. So if you have the time, go to the Miami Foundation, look for El Portal. They both have a public space challenge, one for the to clean up the river, and the other one for the preserves right next to it. That's Adam. So like it, thank it, make comments, and help them get the grant. That's the grant that we got 3 years ago, where we got $20,000 for the nature trail expansion. The Mayor's Town Hall series was started in January, and each town hall is a topic that it's something pressing for the village. It's something that either the council is going to be voting on, the council is going to be deciding on. So it's really important that residents come out, because we have tried, I believe we continually to try to really be as transparent and provide you as much opportunity to ask questions. It's really hard to come to one meeting and know everything. It's almost impossible. So these town halls, every single town hall, from the first one that talked about the development to happening in the sanctuary, from the hurricane preparedness, from public safety, from this last one that it was all about women in leadership. Every single town hall has been about a topic that residents want to know about, but then they don't come. I encourage you to attend these town halls. They take time, they take energy, but they have been fantastic. So I say that to say that the next one is June 30th, and it's going to be all about the budget. So that is June 30th. That's a Saturday, and that's from 12:30 to 1:30. Let's see, what's the other thing? I want to save the date already, if you can believe it. The fourth Tuesday in August is our State of the Village address. So this year is Tuesday, August 28th at 7 o'clock. I'm putting something pretty spectacular together, so I don't have all of it squared away, but that is going to be Tuesday, August 28th at 7 o'clock. Before I go into planning and zoning, I want to take a moment. There was a resident who I had the opportunity to meet probably 4 years ago, and she made a tremendous impact in my life. She was a neighbor, she was a friend, she was a big champion through all of my campaigns. Miss Dolores, and she passed away Saturday, May 12th. So if you can all just pray for her son. It's been really hard for him, but it was a huge loss for me, and definitely for him. So she will be tremendously missed. Planning and zoning, I'll give the update now. At the last planning and zone meeting, the sanctuary presented their initial renderings. It passed our planning and zoning and now moves to full council. The first reading will be in June, and if all goes accordingly in terms of notification and public hearing, the second hearing will be in July. It's really important, if you really want to be a part of what's going on, if you really want to know what's going to happen in that property in terms of development, economic development, and how that's going to impact your life here, you should really be a part of the discussion. You should come and you should ask the questions, because while we believe it's going to be spectacular, we want to be sure that you all think it's going to be spectacular. So June and July council meetings should be about the sanctuary. With this also comes the updating of an ordinance for the liquor sales. The ordinance that we have right now is severely outdated. So at the last planning and zoning meeting, we asked the attorney and Juan from Placerbia to put a recommendation for the council to consider. Some of the things that we asked for was not only to look at neighboring cities, but as well as our own noise ordinance and what that looks like, and give us some options to vote on, while keeping the quality of life of the village in mind. But at the same time, this is business, so we need to keep the businesses in mind as well. Little Farm, their attorney responded, and she is going to solidify a date to meet with them so they can give us an update. I think she just responded literally yesterday. she's going to get a hold of the developers and ask them that we want an update. And at that meeting, we will be sure to let them know about what happened today, as you all heard, that the manager and I had meetings earlier this year as to talk about if there's a potential opportunity that we can have to have a station here. I think that would be, that would just, you all, I mean, that's really something. So I think that if the cards are aligned and we continue with the right conversations with the right people at the right time and at the right meetings, you don't know, but you don't know until you ask. So, okay. I think that concludes planning and zoning. Public safety, body cameras. So the body cameras were purchased while Chief Morales was here. And yes, they were finally returned and they were actually refunded. And the reason that this was done was because whoever ordered it, whenever they were ordered, they sat in the police property for 2 years. And the reason they sat in the police property for 2 years is because whoever ordered it didn't do the proper calculation of what it was going to cost to store the data that is actually filmed. When we actually finally got the cost from the interim chief, well, acting then, it was too much for us to sustain it. So instead of having all these cameras sit there, the committee asked, can you just return them and actually get some money back? We'll put it in our forfeiture or public safety. And if that's something that we want to do in the future, we have to be sure that when and if we do it, we factor everything in. Storage, cameras, it's not just about buying it, but there's layers involved to it. So the cameras were returned, but nothing more than the fact that it was poorly planned as far as a program to implement in our department. All the police evaluations have been finally completed and turned in my 9 years, that's a first. As we talked about the new police cars and we have 4 donated from North Bay Village, people want to know about GPS. Well, when these cars were ordered, once again, whoever ordered them, that did not give us the entire figures. So with these figures that we received, that we passed a resolution, then it came back that we actually needed that came just a car. So we had to put money in to outfit the car. And by outfitting the car, it's, police car, you have equipment and everything that goes in there. So we had to spend an additional probably $40,000 to $50,000 that was not budgeted for. So for us to go in to put in GPSs in the car, I think that maybe we can discuss it at a future date, but the $40,000 to $50,000 was not something, again, whoever ordered the cars did not properly present us the good figures, so we were stuck paying more money. So I think that talks a little bit about the GPS and why they don't have them. And tomorrow we have first time that all the police officers are mandatory meeting. They're going to have first aid and CPR, so that's great. El Portal Police Department is now on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I think it's at El Portal PD. They're always on there, which I think is fantastic, with letting you all know what they're doing. I want to remind you all that the stats are always on the village website. Please go to the village website under police department. I want to applaud Officer Battaglia, who is working diligently to solidify a date to re-kick off the Citizens Crime Watch. And I think the date we have next is July 16th, I think, or July 21st. He will let us know once he gets it with the chief and with David Ward and myself, and then we'll put it out to the public. The second half of the April's Town Hall was dedicated to public safety. If you missed it, it was an opportunity to learn what we are doing to try to mitigate speeding, which is always an ongoing issue, and I believe the manager is going to talk about that a little more in her report, and how we can continually increase police visibility throughout El Portal with the small staff that we have. And then I'm going to touch on one more thing that I talked about earlier. At the Public Safety Committee meeting on May 1st, I attended a superintendent, as I mentioned at the Public Safety Committee meeting on May 1st, I attended a superintendent roundtable on April 7th with other municipal mayors, and we were asked to bring our chiefs, and I also brought the manager. It was to discuss the aftermath effect Parkland incident will have as we move forward, because Governor Scott had mandated that there must be a police officer at every secondary, middle, and high school as of August 2018, which is the new year. This demand has caused a ripple effect to every police department in Miami-Dade County, forcing them to hire new police officers. Clearly, this puts a squeeze on small municipalities like ourselves in Biscayne Park. I'm sure we're not the only ones that they're recruiting our police officers. At that time, I had advised the Public Safety Committee meeting that I would be meeting briefly and quickly with the manager and the chief and the police officers to see if there was anything that we can do. Because while the PBA negotiation had already ended and increase in salaries is not something that we can do now. You know, when you increase salaries, it's something that really has to be thought out, because that really, if that's not done on a strategic way and calculating what the increase is going to be and the lifespan of the police officers, that could be real big financial for the village of El Portal to actually sustain when it comes to 5-7 police officers and a chief. So, which is why we really lean towards the police take-home cars. And I really want to thank the council. I know many of you had a lot of concerns, and I want to really, really thank you all for just taking the leap of faith with us, and together we're going to figure this out if it's going to work or not. And together, as always, we will make the next decision if it does or it doesn't. As I said earlier, one of the reasons why I was, when Commissioner Edmondson had told me she had also implemented it here, and I was reminded by everybody here, and she really told me that there was really no, back then, wow, our village was so different in 2002, right? But she really had nothing negative to say at all about the take-home program. So, police schedule, it continues to be our goal to have 2 police officers when possible at every shift, especially the graveyard shift. The Port Corporal Sharp is always working. But as we move into the new budget year and the new fiscal year, we're going to take a look at a lot of things. We're going to take a look at, how can we have more police officers? What is that cost going to look like? And where are we going to have to squeeze, cut? And that's really what June 30th is about. It's about residents coming in and not necessarily criticizing what we've done, but more, it's a fresh pair of eyes. You have many residents who may be CPAs, who may be financial advisors, and they may take a look at this and come in and be like, hey, what about this? And be like, oh, we look at this document over and over, why not really open it up and be as transparent as we can and maybe even get a really good input. And that's what June 30th is about. And June 30th is important because literally the July council meeting is going into trim notice, is going into millage rate, we're going to have to figure all of that out. So that's why this meeting in the town hall in June will be really important to happen before July. And that concludes my public safety report. Now I'm going to go to Councilperson Mathis, Public Affairs Chair. Oh, no, sorry, Christia Liu, sorry, Village.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be as brief as I can. The sanctuary project, as the mayor discussed in her report on planning and zoning, continues to progress. But I think it's important to let the residents also know that the mayor and I have met with the owners of the sanctuary project and asked about possibly moving the village hall administrative offices and perhaps some code enforcement and what have you over to the new location. If that was a possibility, that would be an opportunity for the village to be a part of the new downtown El Portal. The great idea, but in practice we aren't able to do that. So we will be staying right here in the village hall until we find some other way to make this work, and that is another reason why I'm committed to continue to make improvements around the village hall. We weren't able to afford the rent that we would have to pay, and of course here we're paying no rent, so it's a huge jump and one that we're not able to afford. But we wish them luck, and unfortunately that opportunity didn't work out for the Village of El Portal administration as well as the sanctuary project, because they also thought it was a great idea, but again, we couldn't make that work financially. So like I said, we will continue to make little improvements and big ones as we can. We're going to be closing down the front office over the weekend, over this long weekend, to put in new cabinets and make a different workstation that's a little more secure, and also putting in the security counter so that our staff is safe and that people aren't allowed back, and that we ensure that we observe those signs that it is for personnel only, because we have to abide by FDLE laws and regulations that require all personnel to be the only ones in our back offices unless you're police escorted. So we will be doing that over this coming weekend. Again, small steps, but we're getting it done here in the village of El Portal. I do want to update everyone on the Hurricane Irma recovery. our consultant, DP&O, has made submittals to FEMA, which we're really happy about, but now we start that process. It's going back and forth with regard to ensuring that we've crossed all of our T's and dotted all of our I's. We are hopeful that we should be getting something back in 40 days in terms of just the review. And once that, we are able to review their concerns or questions or whatever comments they have, then it will probably go back to FEMA and then we'll continue. But that kind of takes me into the whole loan/line of credit item. We were considering doing a line of credit to pay for the one outstanding Hurricane Irma recovery invoice. That was our hauler, which is the biggest part of the whole recovery. That one was most expensive, and it's about $1.4 million total for just that one contractor. So we would like to pay that contractor, and we consider doing a line of credit, but because that would require us to pay that back within 12 months, we decided to move forward with securing a loan, a municipal loan. And so we have interviewed and talked with a consulting firm that called Public Financial Management, PFM, that will do an RFQ to find us the best rate we can find to get a 3-year loan, allowing us to ensure that we don't default or that we don't run into penalties if we don't get that money back within that 12 months that the line of credit would have required from us. So we're hopeful this is going to be about a 3 to 4 week process. Again, we have to pay that contractor, so we are working on that with our attorney and a consulting attorney as well. I've participated on a number of meetings and activities recently, well, this month, as I always do, but of note, I'm particularly proud of this. I was a panelist for the Florida Association of Women Lawyers Women's Leadership Summit at the Aikman Law Firm on May 10th, and I represented El Portal as well as my own background with legislative affairs and working on Capitol Hill. So I just want you to know that people were impressed. They like El Portal and they like what we're doing, especially to see that we have a woman as a mayor, a woman police chief or interim chief, as well as women manager. So it's impressive when we have people from El Portal and we're making things happen. We're making big changes. So we're happy about that. And the police was already covered. We continue to work with our interim chief, and she's doing a great job in identifying opportunities for us to showcase and spotlight what we're doing. We're also doing another, we're going to do see Call Me exercise with the FDOT. That's on the 30th.
Call me exercise.
Okay, a ticketing exercise.
Traffic call me.
Traffic call. Slow people down. So other police departments will be joining us. Aventura, Biscayne Park will be joining us in that effort on the 30th. So be careful driving through the streets on the 30th of May. Under a council directive, I was asked to work with Miami-Dade County Department of Transportation and Public Works for a traffic study. I've been working with the traffic engineer over the last couple of weeks. This woman, her name is, I'll tell you, Dorita Rodriguez, has been working with me in terms of identifying if we even need a study. The county is of the opinion that because they've done a study just a few years ago, that they don't want to invest the resources in doing another one unless there's some extraordinary circumstance that would require the study. So in the meantime, I did ask, is there anything we can do? She's going to give me the requirements that we would have to submit to show that we are deserving of this or that we would need it, but the streets that are in question, we said it was Northwest 2nd Avenue, North Miami Avenue, Northeast 2nd Avenue, 87th Street, as well as 90th. These are all considered collector roads, and the county says no to any kind of speed calming, no speed bumps, no lights, no signs that don't belong to the county, because they want to ensure open transportation on those roads. So, we're not done. We're gonna continue to review with her and see if there's any way we can get something. And, I know Councilmember Roman just told me on the sidebar that she's got an idea, so we're always looking for ideas, but we do wanna calm the speeding, so. That's where we're at on the traffic study, but there will be more to come. We'll see if there's some other creative way we can get something to calm some of the speeding in our village. And that concludes my report.
You know, for the traffic study, those county roads, I mean, I know they're not going to reduce it, but in our charrette, we had put in medians or street parking like Miami Shores has it, because those are all other calming devices. Because with those county roads, they're never gonna reduce the speed, I mean, I know that, but there's ways to calm it like the way Miami Shores did it, so that's more along the lines where I was thinking that we should do it. And then the other thing is that anything extraordinary that's happening, well, yeah, the sanctuary is being built. You know, that's gonna have a big impact in our town, so I think that they need to know that as well as even, you know, that future development, so. But the sanctuary is a little more pressing as far as that's coming up. All right, thank you, good job. Councilperson Mathis, Public Affairs?
Yes. 5K is done. We had a great turnout. I actually enjoyed it. We had 5 age groups, and I'm just gonna name the first place winners of each group. The little champion that won the first age group was 0 to 19. His name was Leon Britos.
Oh.
He rode that bike. He rode that bike through the whole course. It was so cute. Pedro Araca was the overall winner. His time was 22:59.
He's from West Miami.
Yes, he was police officer from West Miami. Same age group for female was Lizzie Jean Pierre. She's with Southcom, I believe. And then age group 40 to 49 male, Julio Lotosa, who actually lives in Sherwood Forest. Female in that age group was Anna Ray Nunez, who is the clerk for West Miami. And then resident David, I'm going to mutilate his name, Valhudi, was for 50 and over. And Mabel Otero, I think it was?
Otero.
Was the winner. She lives here. Her daughter lives here. She doesn't
And
live
her daughter's Diana, our photographer.
Great turnout. Had a really good time. I want to thank all of the sponsors, Waste Management, the bagel company. Those bagels were so good. My law firm, Jason Pizzo donated, J2 Skincare. I think I got everybody.
Mercantile Bank.
Mercantile Bank. I didn't get their logo.
And State Farm.
And State. Oh, they. I laughed so hard with them. They were gems. And TD Bank didn't get a check to us in time, but they are going to send us a check. So I think we did good with costs. So and that's my report when it comes to public affairs. The next event is the July 4th event, which we have decided will be on.
We're voting on that, on unfinished business.
Okay.
The council.
We haven't voted on that yet.
Does that conclude your, okay, great, thank you. Public Works, Chairperson Drew is not here. Vice Chair.
This is Public Works. I'm reading this whole thing, trying to familiarize myself with it.
I've been reading this too.
And that's what Public Works is. That's a lot of reading.
I've been reading that too.
Well, there's a lot of tree trimming going on as we prepare for hurricane season, so thank you. And I think that meeting on the 30th is really going to be, yeah, really important. Have we looked at the contract for Pinoni to see the clauses there or no? Okay.
The ones they were supposed to add, right?
Yes. I think that, we're gonna have to, at the next Public Works committee meeting, we'll really have to talk a lot more about, septic to sewer, and let's make a connection to Councilperson Dre. Ms. Manager, have you spoken? Chrissy, have you spoken to Councilperson Dre?
No, I have not.
Public safety, I gave my report. Code enforcement, oh, wow, okay, look at that. Okay, code enforcement, Vice Mayor Nickerson is the chair.
How's everybody doing? It's good to see everybody out here tonight. For code enforcement, I remember at the meeting that we were discussing with the manager. We were discussing homes and what we should do as far as the money that you guys are working so hard, which we appreciate that you guys have gotten in, and what we should do going forward, and how should that be. I remember at one point with you and the attorney, we were talking about with Councilperson Rowan, we talked about percentages, and then you were saying like we shouldn't do percentages because of different homes and different realities and things like that. So I just wanted to first of all just say that we appreciate you guys working on that. This is another example of what the mayor's talking about as far as changing the culture of the village and the community, and with the staff and under your leadership, Madam Manager, how we're getting a lot of things done that should have been done under previous leadership. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. I do want to also say it's not code enforcement, but it will be Memorial Day coming up. And so I just want everybody to keep that in mind. We did have the 5K recently, which leads right into that. And just keep in mind, everybody that knows me knows that all my degrees are in history and international relations and stuff like that, and my doctorate and stuff. So the history of just the military, our military, and what they've been through in the very beginning of our country. And that's just something that you guys want to keep in mind going into this weekend, and the sacrifices that were made for all of us throughout history. And so, just not look at it as a chance to barbecue and eat, good ribs and and things like that, but actually keep in mind what it's all about, because that's very important for all of us. Councilperson Roman, before I close up code enforcement, do you want to say anything about your wonderful program, the hospital?
Yes, so we did confirm the two homes that one for, I'm sorry, I think I should have had that info. For last month, it turns out that the committee chair was out of town, and the committee decided on two homes that are on the east side for this month. Not saying that there weren't any homes on the west side. Nominations were a little bit lower in terms of the west side, so I encourage all residents to, when they drive around, to please, take a look at the beautiful homes that are on the west side and nominate them. And so for this month, the two signs are actually here on the east side. One of the homes is 80 Northeast 89th Street. That home was completely renovated recently. And then the other home is 8995 Northeast 4th. And that's your neighbor, yeah. I think it's Todd and Steven. And so those are the two homes that for this month received and the signs and were awarded the Home of the Month. We do have nominations already for next month, and I believe there's two homes that are already in the running for it, but we are still accepting nominations. So please encourage everyone to nominate whenever possible. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a wonderful program you have. And before I close it out, I just want to give a special shout out into the camera, speaking of Memorial Day, to Colonel Noel Pace, the mayor's husband, who's a colonel in the military, and we appreciate his service, definitely. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Planning and zoning, I gave my report during the mayor's report, and with the last committee is Admin and Finance Chair, Councilperson Roman.
Thank you. For me, I don't really have much. I think the mayor cover, and the village manager covered most of it, that has to do with admin and finance. I'll reiterate the dates that are important, which is June 30th, the budget town hall. That's going to be really important for our villagers to attend and see what it's all about before we go into the actual budget season. And budget workshop is July 10th. So please, if you're available, please come to that. That's also very important. Those are the two dates that I wanted to reiterate. I also, I want to share in the comments that the mayor and vice mayor mentioned in regards to the administration and everything that's being done right now, where it's a breath of fresh air to see that items that were on our strategy session from over a year ago are finally getting put into action. We're seeing the results in just, in the short time that our manager has been a full-time manager. And so I do want to thank her as well for everything that you're doing. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. You're up, Interim Attorney
For
Norvell.
recognizing me. I'll keep it brief and just give you the highlights. We've been covering a lot of ground over the last month or months. Generally working with the manager intimately to make sure that our resolutions are legally sufficient for both the council meeting and also the committee meetings. The main focus, has been discussed earlier, is working with our consultant to make sure the sanctuary project moves forward, including the special use exceptions concerning the alcohol sales. We'll have that proposed ordinance, including the hours and issues concerning the noise ordinance included in the proposed ordinance that we bring back for the council's consideration. The other major highlight involves all the septic to sewer project. We've been working diligently with the various consultants to the village to strategize and to move forward with the agreement with the county, and also to set up meetings with the one's scheduled next week with the commissioner from this district, and then we'll have a later meeting with staff concerning finalizing the proposed agreement, which will involve connection fees and all associated aspects that we'll bring back to the council and articulate in more specificity what that will entail with the village. As you mentioned also, the manager did, and we're looking at working with the financial planner to solicit bids, if you will, or responses from lenders that do public financing to consider a loan for the village to allow us to bridge that gap or potential gap between the FEMA reimbursement. That's a highly complicated process which will involve working with bond counsel and also analyzing the proposed loan agreements that we receive. And as we move that process forward, obviously that'll go through the administrative and finance committee for consideration. Minor items, we've worked on obviously the rules of procedures, which was discussed at the last meeting. I did get some input from one or two of the residents that attended, which I thought was very instructional. Looked at, for Councilman Mathis, proposing the retirement policy, which I think we're going to bring back and finalizing at the next meeting. And that's pretty much the highlights of my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the attorney? We're going on to unfinished business. Senator Campbell was supposed to be here with the legislative updates, so we're going to cross that out. And K2 is, Councilperson Mathis is proposing that, I'll let you take it on.
Oh, for the 4th of July. That's my proposal, that we do 4th of July and 4th of July.
Well, the last couple of years, we've not had it on the 4th of July, so I think that you're proposing that we actually do it on the 4th of July, which is a Wednesday. Okay, so is the council good with that?
Yeah, I think we should explain the reason why in the past we haven't done it on 4th of July, because we always look for a Saturday to do it. So most of the time that Saturday is not the 4th of July. So this year, Councilperson Mathis wants to do on the 4th of July, and just like most years, it doesn't fall on a Saturday. So that's why we're talking about this.
Okay, we all good with 4th of July? All right, great. 4th of July, you don't want to miss out. Now, you know, the manager usually barbecues.
Yeah. You don't want her to barbecue.
You don't want that.
I've got pictures. All right, Chief. You know it's, wait, you know, actually, wait. I have to say this because in years past, it's the chief and the manager that cook. So I have a great idea.
You should have the chief and manager.
Powell.
I can warm up really well.
How are your barbecuing skills, man?
I'm horrible at it. My wife's actually pretty good at it. Maybe I can enlist her help.
Uh-oh.
Well, you know, Officer Benitez and Riveron strike me as they would be really good at barbecue, so I think we're going to be okay. But we have husbands here that will come out and, you know, but I do need a picture with the chief and the manager behind the grill, because that's just tradition.
That is tradition.
Okay. Behind the grill.
That is tradition.
Flipping. Okay, any new business?
No, Madam Mayor.
Oh, yes, Councilperson Mathis, we did not pass the approval of the minutes because Vice Mayor Nickerson had not had the opportunity to really review them, so there would have just been two of us here. Have you had the opportunity to review the minutes for April 23rd? If not, we can move that to June.
I can get it back.
Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and move the minutes to June. Okay, thank you for that reminder, Vice Mayor Nickerson. Anybody in good and welfare would like to ask or say anything? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Interim Chief Ronnie Huffnagel. I just wanted to touch just on two things. First of all, I wanted to go ahead and thank the officers for the 5K for part-timers and full-timers that actually came out. I mean, they did an amazing job.
Thank you. They
Yeah,
really did.
keeping the residents and everybody else that participated safe, and it went smoothly.
I didn't hit it.
It was smoothly. Also, I also wanted to let the residents know that in the past years, I was always involved in the National Cricketer Ticket campaign, and I've actually passed that torch down to Officer Burrell. So we are going to be out there, and we started yesterday, stopping vehicles that do not have the seatbelt on, and at the same time, it helps us with, you know, stopping individuals that have no insurance, that have suspended license. Either we've actually had arrests also, and the reason we do that is because since all police departments join, it helps us if we do the most tickets. Obviously, we're not compared to the big agencies. We compare with Biscayne Park. We also get some goodies out of it that the city does not have to pay for, like lasers, equipment for doing traffic stops. That's all free. And flashlights for the officers. We get to win those goodies too. So just please put on your seatbelts. And we want our officers to stop.
Are you going to do it on the long weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's good until June 30th. We have it until June 30th, so. And we're going to be moving around different spots, so, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Anyway, that thing's been getting everybody.
Good evening. My name is Oles Rima. I live in 202 Northeast 90th Street. But it's not really common, just about my house. Because I've been to the office this afternoon about like 2:30, and then I see at the board is a meeting tonight. Since the last hurricane, my house was messed up, and my car. But when I tried to call the mayor, special my wife tried to call, and then she gave my wife an appointment, and then to talk, we can see nobody. But now I try to find some money to fix my house and my car. You know, I'm still struggle to find some money. But I come to the city, I just want to know if those trees don't have any insurance to cover, like if they hit your house or something, your car, if they could cover me. That's a question I want to know.
What's your address?
202 Northeast 90th Street. 90.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, I know.
Yes, she called you and then she make an appointment and then she can find
You called here the office? Okay. Yeah, that, even though this is a matter that has to go to the manager, she would have to make the decision, and then come to the council with that decision. Go ahead.
Well, I can say, I do know about this situation. I know our code enforcement officer has been over and given citations because of the, extreme amount of vehicles, and they're on the swell, they're, in the alley. So I know about that. Your concern is the fixing of the cars. We referred that to our insurance company, and they refused to pay that.
Yeah.
Because they said this is a natural act. The tree was removed by the contractor.
But
But
you don't know how many complaints I make here to trim the tree. You don't know how many complaints? I make like 3-4 complaints before they can come in just to trim the tree. Nobody do nothing.
What happened?
The tree fell, tree fell.
the tree fell. I don't know what happened before I came on into the village, but I do know that, we are maintaining them now. And I know that, the insurance company said if they are maintained, it doesn't have to be some regular schedule, but if they are normally maintained, if they are in good condition and health, that they would refuse it. I know they did come out and look at that, your damage, and they did refuse the payment. I mean, that really.
So a tree uprooted and fell on the car?
No, it didn't uproot. I think
No,
it just fell.
It fell over.
Like a little big branch or something. I remember it was a blue car. It's a
Exactly.
blue car, yeah. I remember, I mean, we
It's a
drove the
Lexus.
village, and it's a blue car.
We drove past it, and so, if your insurance company, I mean, I don't, I would prefer to.
Was your car totaled?
Not really total. No, it's not
But
total.
it's in the driveway.
Yeah,
the car
yeah,
park, and
exactly.
we have you tried calling?
What about your insurance?
Yeah, you're on.
The deductible I have can cover nothing so far. It's too low for the deductible, yeah. That's the problem. Yeah. For the cars, I got liability, and then, that's the problem. My
What
problem
about your
is,
home?
I come to the city like 3-4 times, make the same complaint for the street. And then the big branches over my house. Before the hurricane come in, I come here, and then I talk to the lady on the phone, but I never received nothing. She's only sorry.
No, I
keep
really am,
complaining.
because I did, I followed up when this happened.
And I keep complaint for the trees, nobody say nothing, and now he's sorry.
I can't answer for what happened before me, but I do know that once we did, go out and assess the insurance company refused to pay.
The trees in the right of way?
Yeah. Yours is not the only, vehicle,
Yeah.
other people sustained damage as well during the hurricane, but again, as you thought, the village cannot pay for that.
But tell the car enforcement, leave me alone till I find money to fix my car, because I don't have no money to fix the car. When he pass by my house and keep complaining, hey,
How long has it been like this?
Since Irma.
Since Irma?
But
And
you
my-
cited not just the car, it's also the many cars that are in the driveway.
But I got like 3 daughters, each of them have a car, but what you expect me to? They live there, and then I can tell them, hey, you cannot park, go out, and then somewhere
This is
else.
the house.
Right next
Yeah,
to
at the
Ruth.
corner, yeah.
Right next to, right next to Ruth Aguilera,
Mhm.
right in the corner, just almost the corner, 2nd and 90th.
And our insurance company said, nope.
If I try to trim or cut the tree, the city gonna be charge me or whatever. That's why they say I can do nothing without the city. That's why when I came here to complain, they never do nothing.
The tree's not.
No, now it's from my house. They cut it down now. The city cut it down now.
Right, so now the issue is
Now it's my, the damages belong to me now. That's my problem now. It's not the city problem. Because my car is messed up, my house is
Was
messed
the
up.
car blocking the sidewalk?
No,
No,
no, it's not
No.
blocking the sidewalk.
no, it's
It's on
parked.
the driveway.
Truck, right?
It's on the driveway.
Okay, so there's no issues with the car that was damaged
No, I
by
don't think
the
it
tree?
is.
Huh? No,
Is it-
Oh, it's under the parking.
Do you have a time frame when you think you could possibly get it repaired, and then maybe the manager can work with code enforcement and not putting fines? I mean, is there a time frame that you think that you could get the car fixed?
Yeah.
What's the estimate of fixing the car?
It's about $3,500.
Irma hit in September.
Are you planning on keeping the car?
Yeah.
So when do you think that you can finish, by when do you think that you can repair it?
Probably that will take me 6 more months, something like
6
that.
more months?
Of course.
Has he been cited or given a warning?
He's been cited.
Okay.
So what you mean cited? That's mean I cannot fix a car. I don't have money to fix it. It's not. It's the tree. Why I keep complaining to cut the tree, they never did. I come here many times, like 3, 4 times. Nobody tell me nothing. It's me now.
That's why we have new administration, to improve our services.
Is the same administration was here when I was complaining?
I'm sorry?
That administration was here when I keep complaining.
Everybody up front is new to the last.
I don't know, but I don't been there like a month, something like that, 2 weeks, I don't know. But when I came here, I know you was there. I know the city manager, I know everybody here.
Did you try going through your homeowner's insurance?
Yeah, I tried, but the table is too low, that's what they say. Exactly. They can't do nothing.
Well, it's not that they can't do anything, it's the deductible that you.
Mhm. But if I'm not complaint for the tree, it's fine. I keep complaint every day. Nobody say nothing.
Was the tree dead?
No.
Now they cut it down now.
So it could have been debris flying that caused that part of the tree to, I mean, if the tree was dead, I mean,
It wasn't bad, it was just the weather, it was next God, kind of his house, and then the car was parked there. Again, the insurance, paid on their attorney, double that.
As part of preparation with the hurricane, you know, I think there's something that was mailed to take a look for this year because, you know, when you have cars near trees, you know, it's advisable that you don't put them, that you move them because things like that can happen. But unfortunately, we're not liable.
What about the top of my roof? It's messed up too. I cannot move it.
Yeah. Yeah, we all, we all suffered a lot of damage, let's just all pray and hope that we have a better season this year.
But I don't know what you're gonna tell the code enforcement because I don't have money now to fix nothing so far. And then only one thing, I keep complaint. There's nobody saying nothing. Now, you see now, you try to against me because before I complain, nobody say nothing. Now you try to send the code enforcement or whatever to say something. You see what's going to be happening?
He did warn you a number of times before he started fighting.
I don't see any citation yet. You got a citation from me or you at the office somewhere?
I think for that.
Anyway, I'm going to contact my lawyer about that. Because you got the power, but I don't have any power. Because I keep complaining for the street many times. Nobody say nothing. Now you swear to. And then what you going to do? Get my house? Where you keep write the citation. You going to get my house or something like that? You think it's fair? No, it's not fair. If I'm not complaining for the street, because the big branch is over my house. I come here like 3, 4 times. I say, please, before the hurricane, can you send somebody to trim the tree? They don't do nothing.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Manager, but what he's getting, the citations, is it for the damage to the car? It's for the other cars that are there.
Yes, it's for the other cars.
But is he getting?
As well as the car under the park that's unrepaired,
So if, yeah, no, I understand.
It's not a problem. I still got insurance for this car.
I understand.
I
So-
still pay insurance for this car, because I try to fix it.
I understand. So, but just looking at it logically, the most that, if anything, the most that we could even look at is the violation for the car under the tarp. And let's, you know what I mean, and say that we could do something about those charges, but it's not going to take care of the overall of the other charges though, sir.
And
You know what I mean?
We enforce the laws, not.
I understand.
So it wouldn't, tarps aren't allowed to cover cars, and
Well, I think in closing, because, you know, you on resolution, and we're not going to be here all night, because, you know,
Okay.
because there's a couple of things that we're talking about. I mean, first, we're talking about the damage to your car. Then we're talking about the covered car and the citations for the covered car. You know, if you ask me, you have, she's right here, you call her tomorrow, and if you guys can meet, this is really up to the manager's discretion. It's, and I don't want to put the pressure on you. But it's not something that the council, you know, it's something that she may come to us and see, but it's really, we're not in the ability to say, yes, we're gonna pay it, or no, we're gonna remove the fines, you know what I'm saying? And I apologize that you went to the former administration and you went to the other managers and they never cut the trees.
Yes.
I mean, we're cutting trees extensively now in preparation for hurricane season. We may have been here, but that's part of what the administration does. But I can tell you now, the administration is pretty active in getting things done. So that would be my recommendation, because we all were affected. We all had fences down, cars were damaged. You know, I had to move my car because I was afraid the carport was going to fall on it. You know, it was, you know, and the village took a big hit. As a village as a whole, we're working on paying that back, as you all heard this evening.
Yeah, like you say, we're not gonna be here all night, but I understand that. But I could make an appointment with your city manager or something. But I have to go to the office tomorrow, or call you or something like that, or?
Please,
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind calling early,
Yeah.
call after 9 a.m.
Yeah, you got your car inside the office, so I have to take, you know, someone.
Yes,
All
my
right.
pleasure.
It's okay. All right.
Okay. What is your name again? Otis? Okay, Otis. Otis, okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? No. Okay, hearing none, anything else? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn? Motion's been made by Councilperson Roman, is there a second? Second by Councilperson Mathis, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the Tuesday, May 22nd council meeting concludes at 9:51 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.
I gotta tell you something.